Yeah, what happened was that this man, right, who was notorious for encouraging violence against minorities in Pakistan, especially Ahmadi Muslims, right? You know, like if it doesn't share, that's okay. So Ahmadi Muslims, he says that they're non-Muslim. He says that they should be treated as apostates and blasphemers. He supports the death penalty against them. He supports the death penalty against blasphemers. He is one of the people who put a fatwa on our previous guest here, Shan Tasir, the son of the Punjab governor, you know, who was murdered by his bodyguard too. So there you go. Right. So this is a picture of his funeral from just a few days ago. Right? There's like millions of people. There's more people who showed up at this than the MAGA march in Washington D.C., which was supposed to be the Million MAGA March. This is an iconic symbol in Lahore, Pakistan, the city I was born, and these people are all there to celebrate this man, the death of this cleric. Right? Not a word about this. Not a word. Okay. Imran Khan actually sent out a tweet offering condolences. So, like, you know, we're very sad to hear that this man died. Around the same time, this young man named Tahir Ahmed, I think, he was a doctor, who was Ahmadi, who was murdered purely because he was Ahmadi. Christians like Asya Bibi persecuted. All right, Hindus persecuted in Pakistan. Nothing about them. The way that if France treated its minorities, if Pakistan treated its minorities anywhere near as good as France does, whatever France's issues are, then we'd be having an entirely different conversation. More than that, Imran Khan is still not saying a word about the Uyghur genocide in China. Okay, there's Muslims in concentration camps. Their organs are being harvested. I mean, the entire thing, it's a human rights catastrophe that's happening against Muslims there. And they think, and yet this human rights minister has the balls to come out and say that, well, you know, Macron, by, you know, saying that all students have to have IDs so they can all be included in the school system in France, that is somehow equivalent to targeting people for genocide. Right? So the hypocrisy here is absolutely crystal clear and transparent. Right? And she lied about it too. Like it's not. She said it was only the Muslim students have to. That's not true. It's not true. Every student in France would be getting these ID numbers. Every single student, just to prevent homeschooling.
Yeah, and guess what? Before and after these student IDs, it was preferable to be a Muslim in France than Pakistan before these IDs, and after these IDs, it's still preferable to be a Muslim living in France than it is to be a Muslim living in Pakistan. Any one of these people in this picture would trade places with Muslims in France. The vast majority of them, if you ask them, would you want to live in France instead of Pakistan? I bet you the answer would be yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's insanity. Like, it's just kind of, but you don't know what to do. The problem is that we have normalized so much stuff. I mean, this is the kind of thing, if you saw that crowd, right, and then you had this, minister posting an official statement for the government, like, normally people would be furious. This would just be something where everybody'd call out their hypocrisy, but it's just so expected now. It's so expected now that we've normalized it. So we don't even call these things out anymore. We don't even call out any of this hypocrisy anymore. We can't. Susanna is saying there have been at least 5 targeted assassinations of Ahmadis in the past 3 months. And yeah, this is something that keeps on going. These are just the ones that you read about in the news.
And actually, right now, Pakistan is moving in the direction to make accusations of blasphemy on Shia Muslims a lot, right? So again, being Shia Muslims are now starting to, which is kind of, I mean, some people might feel justified to, again, don't be tempted to see any kind of poetic justice in this, because Shias used to be allied with Sunnis to go after Ahmadis, right? And now see, like I said, don't be tempted by this, okay? But like Ali is being tempted. But now Shias are like, now the Sunnis are turning on Shias. Shias are a minority in Pakistan, and now they're getting it again. This is not fair because it's collective punishment. It doesn't mean just because some Shias were but again, don't give in to this. Okay, this is bad. But a lot of Sunnis are now going after Shias as a minority, and they're considering the cursing of Abu Bakr, Umar, and Osman to be blasphemy. So now a lot of Shias in Pakistan are now going to be considered heretics. So again, Musliming in Pakistan is going to be more and more difficult compared to before. Like, you used to be like an average mainstream Muslim yesterday, and now all of a sudden you're being considered one of the heretics or one of the infidels that is deserving of the death penalty because you're insulting one of the Rashidun. And again, so if you're even if you're a Muslim in Pakistan, if you're not the right type of Muslim, or if you are a Muslim that just like offhand makes the wrong remark about Muhammad or anything like that, it's not easy right now. The accusations of blasphemy are just flying left and right in Pakistan. It's very tense. The situation is very tense, and the consequences are huge. Again, most of the, well, not most, all of the people in Pakistan who died from from blasphemy accusations were never actually got around to get a death sentence from the government, because all of them were killed by the mob. So it's really tense, and it's getting worse in Pakistan. And like this whole Islam, you guys like trust, and yeah, if these people could run away and go live in a country like France, they would do it in a heartbeat. And these are the same people who would wish the death penalty on people who draw the cartoon. I mean, the priorities are just so, here's another thing. For example, Ali, look at the go look at the protests against China. For example, in a country like Bangladesh, me and Susanna were comparing the pictures, right? If you look at Bangladesh, there were some protests. Like, we were fair. We didn't say like there's no protests against China in Bangladesh, because, well, China is like putting millions of Muslims in concentration camps. And we just went and looked at the protests in Bangladesh, and there was like a line of people. There was just like a line of people holding a sign, and that was the protest against China's mistreatment of Muslims, and that was a protest in Bangladesh. And then we put the picture of the protest against drawing cartoons in France, and then we looked at the people that showed up for that, and it was astronomically higher. Like, the streets were flooded with people, right? So and again, we've been like looking at what all the people that speak at, like, we follow a lot of Islamic channels, right? And we see them, like, they make offhand remarks or like, oh yeah, China bad, right? But the obsession that they have over these cartoons, and how they condemn it, and some of them don't even talk about China. So especially the Pakistani and Iranian ones, they don't even condemn China, right? But to me, like, I feel like you guys don't care about Muslims, right? Like, so it's not just about you care about Muslims, but you don't understand what's happening. The fact is that you don't give a shit about Muslims. First of all, you're worse than tribal for a lot of these Islamic activists, because at least if you were tribal, you would be like caring for Muslims' lives above other people's lives. You are even less than that, because to you, it's not just that Muslim lives matter to you above other people's lives. You guys, not even Muslim lives matter to you. Muslim lives matters to us atheists more than most of these Islamic Dawah people, because they are more offended, and some of them proudly so are more triggered and more upset about the fact that these cartoons are allowed of their dead prophet, then they get more upset over that than Muslim blood painting the streets. They would not. And again, this is not even me saying this, okay? Some of them proudly say that they are more offended that the honor of their prophet is being questioned or that the prophet is being mocked more than all Muslims dying. They care about that more. They think that they need to defend their prophet above all Muslims. And not even just other Muslims, not even just random Muslims. The fact that they care less about random Muslims less than the honor of the prophet, they go above that. They're like, Muslims, I care about the honor of the prophet more than my own mother. And they say that as if that's a bragging right. So see the level of this is how the priority is fucked. Okay, this is so not only they're below tribal, because if they were tribal they would care about Muslims. Not only they care about their prophet more than Muslims, and that they brag about it, they come out and openly brag about the fact that they care about the prophet that who's not even being hurt by this, who's already fucking dead. They care about protecting his honor more than the lives of their member of their own family. I mean, if this doesn't show you how fucked your mind can get over religion, how big of a virus this dogma is, I don't know what else can convince you. This is the poison that this is mainstream. This is a mainstream claim. This is not when people say I love the prophet more than my own mother. I'm not talking about the radicals. This is a mainstream claim, and the fact that they brag about this, the fact that this again, even if these are people who don't go boom boom themselves over here and there and they kill a whole bunch of people. Okay, I have to say it like that because I don't know what YouTube.
you just everything you just said in the last like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I had to, but the fact that how mainstream the influence that these priorities have on people, on Muslim lives and other people's lives around them, is a lot more significant than random acts of boom boom. Okay, because we don't like, you remember, the more skewed your belief system is from objective reality, the more your decisions are going to hurt you and what is in your best interest and the lives of everybody else that you come in touch with in ways that sometimes it's even unpredictable. Okay, so don't think that Islam is screwing people's lives just because there's one attack here or one attack over there. Islam is screwing people's lives in so many different ways, way beyond these attacks, in some ways that we see and many other ways that we don't even see, that doesn't get on the news. And the number one victims are always the Muslims themselves before anyone else. So yeah, I mean, and then we get, and it's not just the Muslims that get all of these wrong. It's also the non-Muslims that look at the news like this and like, I think France is being Islamophobic. I guess this is too much. I'm like, guys, like the level of conversation that we are having about these things is so behind on where we should be that when we see somebody like Macron, even with all the mistakes they're going to make, this is like something we've been waiting for decades, right? Like a non-far right bigoted government coming out and taking a stance in a seemingly more nuanced way than other people. I mean, guys, we're still going to point out violations of human rights or betrayal of Enlightenment values when you see it, even if it comes from someone like Macron, because we're not tribal like that, right? But again, this is something overall, this is something that if we see something that is even remotely close to what we were hoping for, we need to like hang on to it, and we need to be like rewarded. And people are like, these are just politicians that are just doing this because they want votes and stuff. Okay, well then give them the goddamn votes that so reward them with whatever they want, because this is what we want to see more of. Like, they're doing this for then give them the votes. Politicians are doing this just because it gets them support. You think? Well, then reward them with exactly what you think they want, so we see more of this. What kind of a response is that? Of course, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I love everything you said.
Okay,
so and you're right. Like this is they value a long dead prophet who is guaranteed to be in heaven for eternity, they value that, someone who absolutely cannot be touched or hurt in any way, more than vulnerable everyday human beings and their lives, more than living people. Right? That's how distorted that. That's what faith rots the human mind. Religious faith just rots the human mind. Right? Secular Proton is saying, I kind of understand Pakistan not condemning China. There's too much political pressure there. A poor country like Pakistan can't afford to criticize China. Okay, don't. Could you go back? There was a beautiful spelling error there. The way he wrote criticize. It said, yeah, okay, he corrected it. It said criticize, which is beautiful. Anyway, did you pick that up? You didn't pick that up? Okay, no. I thought that gave me a little moment of pressure. There's nothing really funny about it. I just can't put my finger on it. Anyway,
no, you're responsible.
Okay. Anyway, so can't criticize. The thing is,
a good joke by Ali. That's surprising.
I think somebody else came up with it, but I can't remember. So they can't criticize. Yeah, then don't do it with other things. Don't look like a hypocrite when you do that. And this is something that, for example, the U.S. does with Saudi Arabia for years and years and years. They're always like, oh, human rights violations here, lack of religious freedom. We believe in democracy. We don't. And everyone, one of the biggest reasons that there was so much American sentiment in the Muslim world, and this is one place where I think they had a point, is like, why do they have unconditional support for Saudi Arabia? Why are they going holding hands with the Bushes, holding hands with the king, and one guy's bowing to the king and other guy's like giving the king a medal? Why do they do this stuff when they're going around talking about lack of religious freedom and lack of this? Like, why are they doing it? All the 15 of the 19 hijackers from 9/11 were from that country. So that kind of hypocrisy, that's what you look like. It's just, if you're not going to condemn China and then you're going to go around and compare these what Macron's doing to the Yahtzee Germany, then you're stepping into the fire and you're gonna get burned.